Good morning, everybody. I'm Edie Rodriguez. You may have been at my panel yesterday. I'm back again today, and we're delighted to talk about crafting a diverse portfolio, maximizing financial resilience through multi-asset allocation. So I'd like to ask my four panelists to please join me on the stage and take a seat. We have Siew Kim Bae, Chief Financial and Sustainability Officer for Lodging, Capital Investment Limited, the Ascott Limited Group out of Singapore. We have Khalid Saud Abu Haimed from Khozama. Please join us, Khalid. And then we have Ahmed bin Madhi, Chief Investment Officer for Rua Al Madinah Holding Company. Please, wherever you'd like. We can follow the pictures, why not? And then last but not least, Mr. Ashraf Qasem, Chief Hospitality Officer, Al Othaim Investment. Panelists, thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for being here. And thank you, audience. So the Future Hospitality Summit's advisory board said they'd really like to get a better understanding of fundamentals of multi-asset allocation, benefits of diversification, and some market trend and economic outlook. So that's going to be our goal, but we're going to make it very, very conversational so these four great brands and developers can talk about each of their companies. I'd like to begin, if we may, with just each of you introducing yourselves and your company quickly, and then we can go from there. Khalid?
Thank you, Edie. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Khalid Abu Haimed, the CEO of Khozama Investments Group. We're mainly focused into the hospitality, luxury, experience, mixed-use development projects.
Everyone, my name is Siew Kim. I'm the Chief Financial and Sustainability Officer for CapitaLand Investment Lodging, the Ascott Limited. For those who are not familiar with the Ascott, we are a Singapore company, so I actually flew in from Singapore to attend this conference and super excited to be here. Ascott is a lodging hospitality management company. We have presence in over 40 countries, 900 properties globally. So if you think about Ascott, think about the living sector, we manage and invest in hospitality, anything to do with, I would say anything to do with beds, yeah? Beds, service apartment, hotel in residence, hotels, the long stay, the short stay. So anything to do with the living sector is something that Ascott is involved in. And we have been around for about 40 years with 900 over properties, and I would say our presence is predominantly in Asia, so we know Asia very well. Yeah, so that's Ascott.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Ahmed bin Madhi, I'm the Chief Investment Officer for Rua Al Madinah Holding. Rua Al Madinah is a company fully owned by the Public Investment Fund. We are based in the holy city of Medina, and we are a real estate developer having several projects, but our main and flagship project is Rua Al Madinah, which a lot of you know about. It's developing 47,000 keys of hotels with all the supporting asset classes, including retail, residential, and other asset classes. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ashraf Qasem. I'm the Chief Hospitality Officer for Othaim Investments. Othaim Investments has been established in the kingdom since 1956 under Othaim markets. Now we diversified since 12 years ago by starting with the malls. Now moving forward with our mixed-use developments, focusing on hospitality. We're going to roll out 14 hotels within the coming 3 years across the kingdom. Thank you.
Thank you all for that introduction. So I'd like to begin with Khalid, if we may, because this beautiful structure we're in and the surrounding properties from Khozama, when you think about 45 years ago when your company had the vision to start to put up the beautiful iconic building you put up here, I mean, there was nothing around here. And now you fast forward today to a big, big company with a lot of multi-asset allocation. Can you tell the audience a little bit about how from the beginning of your company to today, your fundamentals have sort of evolved?
Yeah, I think this is a very attaching to heart story to tell. It's a legacy. It's a legendary of Khozama. I think it also the most important, the visionary of the owning partners of this group, which is led by the Faisal family. When they have started to think about developing a vision to develop this particular projects, which have two different phases. The first phase that had been developed more than 45 years ago, with a vision that to develop a mixed-use project, which was the first mixed-use projects into the region, I believe, with a high, let's say, with a high-rise, two offices, high-end luxury offices experience, which does not exist in the country at that time, and also all of the other components that attached to the projects. Also developing a high-end, it was one of the first luxury 5-star plus hotel experience with all of the F&B facilities supporting that hotel, which was Khozama Hotel. And it was a journey by itself, and it was an example that being set in a location, nobody that would think or would believe this would happen in this city in particular. And it was like a destination, a small story, lots of people that would share the same, let's say, experience. If you invited into any special event at that time, let's say 45 years ago, and when you see Khozama logo into the food truck that catered that event, everybody will be very excited and happy, and I think his mouth would start watering because he see and he believe and he knows that he will enjoy a very special meal at that time with that event. So this is the level, the position and recognition of that brand at that time. So setting the level of experience matching luxury experience at the same time. So after that, the company have decided to develop phase 2 of the project, which is the iconic Al Faisaliya Tower, which was at that time the first skyscraper offices buildings with all of the same things, which is the diversification of risk or of mixed-use real estate projects that include a shopping experience, yet luxury that matching the same segments. At the same time, also developing a high-end luxury hotel, which was Al Faisaliya. Today, we are co-branding with Mandarin Oriental, so that the brand is Mandarin Oriental Al Faisaliya. The name is still there, the legacy is still there, the DNA of Al Faisaliya is still there, and I think the mind of people, which is the brand recognition, is still into the customer mind. Everybody that come travel to this country, even though it's mentioned Mandarin, I'm not saying that against Mandarin, but we love Mandarin. That's why we think we can deliver the best co-branding into the region. So everybody now that would book through any booking channels, he would go through searching for Al Faisaliya directly. So this is the legacy that have been developed, and we are happy that today we host you and you can observe and experience that legacy with us. Please enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you for that answer. And it must be working because you shared with me you have 30% wait lists on some retail leasing space. So more power to you for your office buildings and things of that nature.
Well, this is something that we have to be proud, but without an ego. So we are very proud that we still own and have the trust of our clients and also international, let's say, travelers. They still have that trust into the brand itself. And yes, we do have a huge waiting list, and we still have also lots of, let's say, efforts from people and friends and families that ask him, please, can you facilitate Mr. X and Y and Z, or company X and Y and Z? And this is something really that brings you to be very proud of a project that you're part of the team of this company that where people really appreciate the brand. And we aim and we hope that we can serve the purpose of our owning company or the owners of this vision to the highest level. And yet I'm sure that we have a very long journey to exchange, let's say, enhance and improve our services, which is all about the experience of our tenant and our guest at the same time.
Excellent, thank you. And Siew Kim, Ascott has the largest lodging trust in Asia Pacific with 8 billion assets under management, private equity funds, and lodging operator business. How do you approach crafting a diverse portfolio to ensure financial resilience, especially in unpredictable markets?
Okay, thank you for the question. For those who are not familiar with Ascott, we are a leading, I would say vertically integrated hospitality operator. And what that means is we have a hospitality management where we manage our accommodation products for third-party owners. But we also have a very big investment management within the lodging business. So we have a listed REIT, which is called CapitaLand Ascott Trust. And in that REIT, there is about 100 over properties, 8 billion of assets. And it has a global presence in about 14 countries, 40 over cities, and is listed in the Singapore Stock Exchange. For Ascott, we also have private equity funds that we manage, where we co-invest in greenfield projects. So I will take Eddie's question from the context of managing Capital Ascott Trust, which is a listed REIT, because that's our investment vehicle. And on the word building a resilient portfolio. So being resilient, the first thing that comes to mind would be returns to the shareholders, stable returns to the shareholders. So maybe I'll answer the question in what I call a 3D. So in line with the theme of the conference, which is Invest today, I would say the first way to build a resilient portfolio would be number one, diversification. So Capital Ascott Trust has a very diversified portfolio with 100 over properties, and we have presence in 14 different countries, 40 over cities. So I was very fortunate to be managing that portfolio during COVID. And we all know what it's like during COVID to be managing a hospitality portfolio. It can be very stressful. But during that period, what it has taught me is diversification is key. I was very fortunate because our portfolio was so diversified in terms of product offering. We had service apartment, we have hotels, we have a different kind of lodging product in the portfolio. And what it means is it kind of buffer the risk arising from the different client segment. Then the other diversification that is important is where we can, geographic diversification. So during COVID, for 2.5 years, you know what it's like. Certain countries, COVID restriction was different. So with a portfolio of 100 properties in different countries, I had returns that kind of buffer each other because certain borders were open, certain borders were closed. So with a diversified portfolio, we could continue to distribute dividends to our shareholders during COVID. We were cash flow positive. So number one is diversification. Number two is what, the conference have talked about all morning. I would say the second D is digitization. It is so critical. So Ascott, we invest a lot on technologies. In fact, our biggest spend every year in our budget is technologies. And investing in technologies, in AI, getting insights into data, actually help us in terms of operations, but also more importantly, driving revenue. So second D in the resilient portfolio is digitization. And I think the third D, I think it's no-brainer, and it's been talked about throughout conference, is also decarbonization. To future-proof our portfolio and make it resilient, I think we need to look at decarbonization. And actually, more than decarbonization, is actually be positive in terms of our contribution. So 3D in building a resilient portfolio, diversification. Second one is digitization, invest in technologies. And third one is decarbonization. So Ascott, we have an Ascott Cares program that focus on sustainability, that make sure that we build a sustainable portfolio for our shareholders. Yeah.
Thank you. And I agree with you on data. I always say data is the new oil. You need the data, and digitalization is critical as we go forward into the future. But don't ever forget the cybersecurity aspect of all of that digitalization. Thank you for that, Siew Kim. Ahmed, I'd like to talk a little bit about the uniqueness of, Madinah as a beautiful location here in the KSA, but in particular, if you could speak to, you have a development in the process with 47,000 keys. That is quite a wonderful opportunity. Can you speak to us a little bit about that project in particular, please?
Thank you very much. So, I think an important question, since we are discussing today diversification, is how we diversifying in Royal Medina with such a large number of keys being developed in a single location. What I would like to highlight first is Royal Medina has a portfolio of projects. This is one of the projects. So we have other projects that are mixed use. We have cultural assets. Some of the projects are not yet announced. But we have also a focus on building communities in the city of Medina. This particular project is large scale due to the confirmed and very clear gap in the market in terms of supply and demand. Medina is visited by millions of visitors every year. And in recent years, we have seen a big surge in the numbers of visitors. And there is a need to provide accommodation for all the visitors. And we are a mandate-focused organization. So our mandate is to enrich the experience of all the visitors and to make available the supply that is required in the city. So when we have that consideration in mind, that there is a very clear gap in the market, the question of diversification becomes to us, okay, when we close that gap, hopefully in the coming years, how we diversify, but within the main sector, which is the hospitality, I would say. So we look into the feeder markets where we expect the growth of the visitors to come from, and try to introduce a mix of sub-asset classes, different positioning. We have hotels from the ultra-luxury to all the way to the two-star hotels. Around 5,000 keys in the five-star, around 9,000 keys in the four-star segment, and the remaining is split between three-star and two-star hotels, where we want to take a leading role in defining what is a two-star hotel, even because it's not very clear today in the market. That comes with supporting asset classes. Retail has a major focus in our project, Royal Medina project, because it's part of enriching the experience for the visitors, or giving them a variety of options for the retail experience itself, and food and beverage, augmenting the food and beverage offering of the hotels. When it comes to other projects that we have, some of them are not announced yet, but there will be cultural assets, there will be residential community that we are working on, and in the future will be announced. And one important thing to highlight here, speaking about diversification, is it depends who's the investor. Or in the case of developers, for example, it is by nature that a developer chose a certain sector to be focused on, which is real estate in this case. A general investor, for example, would be looking at a wide variety of assets. Maybe real estate will represent only 25 to 40% of the portfolio. The remaining will be it stocks, bonds, or commodities or other asset classes. But when you are a developer, when you have a very clear mandate, the diversification becomes within that mandate itself, and this is how we address it in Royal Medina. Generally, investors will be looking also at diversifying not only the asset classes, but also the vehicles, how they invest, maybe invest through funds or REITs or direct investments. They will be looking also at different geographies. By virtue of our mandate, we have to focus on building the city of Medina, and we have a very important role in Medina to transform the Medina as part of the 2030 vision transformational program. But this is not the case for other investors. They would have a wider geographical focus. So we invite people who are interested to diversify to consider also investing in second-tier cities in Saudi Arabia, not only in the major metropolitans. Another way to diversify also would be to look into the cycle of the project, be it initial stage or brownfield or some existing assets or different strategies like development versus rehabilitation versus other aspects. So it's a wide subject, but as I said earlier, the important thing is it goes to the requirements and the objectives of each investor and their risk tolerance and their liquidity requirements. So diversification is unique to each investor.
Shukran. Ashraf, tell us a little bit about the fundamentals of multi-asset allocation from your company's perspective, please, and what you're doing here in the kingdom.
Yes, for sure. Within Al-Othaim, before we did the investment strategy, we went and did the highest and best use for the locations that we wanted. We ran down the feasibilities, especially as our main core business is retail, and tried to diversify it to go into a mixed-use development. You had so many elements that you need to tackle. I'll just go through some of them, which is basically you need to go to the city, the population, the future growth of the population, the current net income, what will be the disposable income, what will be the future development for that area, plus the logistics, uplift, roads, accessibility, and where it's located. Based on those, the strategy was put to diversify mainly the risk of investment. Because any investment that you have, it's good on papers, but you don't know what happens in the future, so you need to do your risk mitigation from now. Basically, including for the risk mitigation, we did the diversification in our offering to the market. Al-Othaim company has a very unique and special ecosystem. It owns its own lifestyle and fashion brands. We started with 4. Now currently we have around 45. We own our own F&B company, which now also reaching to around 25 brands. We own our own entertainment, which is considered to be #1 privately invested company across the kingdom and the GCC and Egypt. They're operating in around 7 locations. Plus, we are now integrating into sports. We are doing our own sports academy. And the latest addition to that are 2 major sectors, which is the hospitality. We established RIFA, Al-Othaim Hospitality Company, and we are also established Al-Othaim AI Company, headed by the First Lady in the Kingdom, Dr. Fatima Ba'uthman. She's heading actually the AI, and she was acknowledged in the Society of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Why we're doing that is basically to harvest data that will give us the tools for the future and currently. Where is the customer behavior is happening? Where's the expenditure? What's happening? The patterns, all of those spectrum that will allocate the ability to move forward with our investments and to take the right decisions. In the hospitality sector, even, we're going across the kingdom. As I said earlier, we're going with 14 hotels, around 2,000 plus keys, across the kingdom, in secondary cities and primary cities. And I have to say, Al-Othaim was the first, by the vision of Sheikh Abdullah Al-Othaim, to invest in secondary cities like 15 years ago when they started doing malls in secondary cities, not primary cities. Having the vision for the future. Now, those are going to be the seeds for the new developments in those areas, which will include not only malls. We're moving them from the 3rd generation mall to the 5th generation mall, which will include more lifestyle, more entertainment, more interaction. So it's basically a destination for people to come, complemented by the offerings that are by Al-Othaim, hospitality, and the AI on top, having the AI company to harness the data. Currently, if I may add to that, we have currently in our malls having around 50 million guests coming yearly. This is with the new 23 developments that we're having. We are targeting around 100 million, 108 million customers to come through. We are expanding the GLA twice the current number across the kingdom. So having the power of data, again, as you were mentioning, will help us a lot in diversifying the offering that we have. We are moving now into the mixed-use developments, adding to that retail component, and we're adding to that residential component, office component, subject to the location based on the data that is currently there and the future look and run for this.
Excellent. Well, you're all cognizant of Vision 2030 and what development goals, and everything is done around sustainability and UN SDG. And when you talk about what you guys refer to as second-tier cities, I think that's so critical because when you have an international guest coming here, they're coming on a long plane ride, typically 8 hours plus. Some of us coming from Miami, 15, it's a long flight. You want to maximize your holiday, and you don't just want to see perhaps Riyadh and Jeddah. You want to go, obviously the religious tourists are doing that as well, but you want to go to these other cities, and the kingdom has so many beautiful destinations to offer that I think it's important for this development to continue. But I know, Siew Kim, you're everything you do, you're also the sustainability officer, and currently Ascott is not in the kingdom. So from a diversification and growth and sustainability, maybe you can partner with some of these brands up here. You never know. Can you talk a little bit about your future expansion possibly into the KSA?
So I take care of sustainability for lodging, and a small correction there, Ascott is actually in Riyadh. We have a number of properties here. We have been Middle East for a long time. So, but what I'm seeing, I'm very excited with the potential of growth here. So sustainability to me is business imperative. There is no, discussion around whether to do it or not. I was running the CapitaLand Ascott Trust with a REIT. Investors are looking for developers who practice sustainable development. So if you're looking at a new building, it's very important for you to build a sustainable building. And green certification is important. So you do not want to live with a stranded assets many years down the road if your building is not efficient. So sustainable development is priority. So many people have this misconception that when you are sustainable, you are more expensive. Generally, people think about it that way. And therefore, maybe when I run the portfolio, I approve the capex is a lot easier. But to me, if you're not sustainable, it will cost you more. And I've seen it. Why? Because the lenders are not going to lend you. The investors are not going to invest in your project. And your customer, your guests are asking for more sustainable option. So sustainability to me is business imperative. If we don't do something about it in your business, you will actually lose your business and you're not going to be sustainable, in the longer term. So it is very important for us to drive that. The one thing unique about hospitality sustainability is not just the real estate part. So many of us, when we think about sustainability, we look at real estate carbon emission. For hospitality, it's actually very unique because there's the operational aspect of sustainability, which your operator will actually have to take care of it in the day-to-day running of the operations. For Ascott, we have our Ascott Cares program, where we embrace what we call the 5 pillars of sustainability: community, alliance, working with partners, respect, environment, and then the supply chain. The whole ecosystem within sustainability is embraced in the operations. And looking for operators that embrace sustainable operations is very important because your guests are looking for it. So yes, sustainability is something that I drive and work toward because it's very important from the real estate point and also operations. And one last aspect of sustainability in hospitality, which is also very unique to our industry, is it's not just the E. Actually, a very big part of sustainability for hospitality is the S part, which is sometimes overlooked, which is the social part. So we talk about the community, the diversity, the culture, which is very important when it comes about tourism and sustainability. So yeah, that's my thoughts on sustainability.
Thank you so much. It's hard to believe we're out of time already, so I would just like to say thank you to each of the panelists, and I hope as the audience you got to learn more about 4 really quality companies for you guys in the audience to possibly partner with as well. Shukran and thank you.
Shukran.